Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, thank you for being here today. And I want to thank you so much for the work that DHS and FEMA have done in Tennessee with the recent ice storm, but also previously with Hurricane Helene, and the responsiveness we have gotten from FEMA, the difference from the previous administration and your administration has been noted by people in Tennessee, and I just want to express my gratitude to those employees that are working so hard. So we truly are grateful for that. I want to go back to something Senator Durbin said in his opening statement. He referred to the Biden policy, immigration policy, is sensible and humane. And in his comments, he said there was a sensible and humane way to deal with immigration, but he felt like Biden's policy was sensible and humane, and what you all are doing is not sensible and humane. And this struck me because the Biden administration allowed hundreds of thousands of those illegally entering the country. We have seen hundreds of thousands of migrant children that have been lost. There is nothing sensible and humane about that. There is nothing sensible and humane about having terrorists walk across our border and come into this country. There is nothing sensible and humane to these wonderful families who are grieving the loss of loved ones, that somebody illegally came in the country and took the life of their loved ones. So those comments really struck me. And I want to provide you the opportunity to respond to what Senator Durbin supported, the Biden immigration policy. We had hours and hours of hearings dealing with such. He supported the Biden DHS. But to me, there is nothing sensible and humane about allowing millions of people to violate the rule of law in the United States. And I yield to you for a response.
Yes, well, thank you, Senator. When you look at the Biden immigration policies, I think Senator Durbin is ignoring the consequences of illegal immigration. Over 30% of the young girls that crossed that border during that invasion were raped and brutally harmed by people along the way. There's nobody that crossed that border, came in from Mexico, that didn't have to pay a cartel member to get into this country. Those cartels have been enriched and made sophisticated and professionalized by the money that Joe Biden facilitated putting into their pockets by allowing that invasion to happen and funneling people into the cartel's hands. I also would say that 4,000 people died during that invasion. When people were coming into this country, died because of the inhumane circumstances that were going on, from the heat that they were having to deal with, from drowning in the river. It was not humane what we saw being facilitated by the Biden administration. So every day, the people at the Department of Homeland Security get up to defend this country and our borders and the citizens that live here. I know, Senator Durbin, that you appear to be very concerned about illegal immigrants that are in this country. I will tell you that as a Secretary of Homeland Security, I am very concerned in doing my job and protecting American citizens. That's my #1 priority, and I will continue to enforce the law and make sure it applies equally to everyone that's in this country.
Thank you. Joe Kent, who is the director of National Counterterrorism Center, last year told the House Homeland Security Committee that there are at least 18,000 known terrorists that are here in this country. And I've heard from Tennesseans all weekend long about their concerns. The attack in Austin was really quite unsettling. And the awareness that there are these terrorists that are among the citizens here in our country. So would you lay out, not only for this committee, but for the American people, what steps are you and your team taking right now to make certain that we apprehend, detain, and prosecute these terrorists before they have the ability to conduct any act of evil?
Well, Senator, when you let millions of people into this country unvetted, you truly don't know how many dangerous known and suspected terrorists there may be in this country. We continue to do our investigative work. We continue to look at individuals that are here that may be committing crimes and working with local and state law enforcement where possible. What I would say is anybody that we know that the Biden administration has given green cards to or naturalized. We're going back and re-vetting those individuals, those who came in under refugee programs. We are re-vetting those individuals and interviewing them and talking to them to ensure that they are someone who is here appropriately and they didn't come in under a program that was abused by the Biden administration. We continue to use our intelligence and analysis department under the Department of Homeland Security to gather intelligence and cooperate with other intelligence agencies and with the FBI to go after and to prosecute those who would wish to do us harm. We're grateful for the American citizens that work with us, and we understand that people who are in this country illegally and have final removal orders should be detained. Our priority is going to continue to go after those worst of the worst and to make sure that we are getting them out of our country as soon as possible and brought to justice if they've committed crimes here.
There are a couple of bills we were able to fund in the Working Families Tax Cut Big Beautiful Bill back during the summer, and we're so grateful for President Trump and the attention that he put on some of these issues of protecting the American people and making that the priority. And you know, that's a part of upholding our oath. I think many of us were struck last week when the president asked, do you think it's the first order of business to protect the American people? And many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle just sat there. That was stunning. So we're grateful for this focus on protecting our people. There were two bills, the Prince Act and the End Child Trafficking Now Act. These are pieces of legislation I've pushed forward. Now, this helps with protecting these children that are being trafficked, many of them globally trafficked. We're fully aware that Homeland Security investigations, and I think they're defunded right now during this shutdown, are trying to find some of these traffickers, rescue these children, and return them to their families. These two bills allow the collection of DNA and fingerprints so that we can stop this repeat trafficking of children. And I want you to talk for just a moment about the importance of having this legislation on the books and how you were using this to help break these global trafficking rings.
Yeah. No, I appreciate those bills, and I'm hoping that this body will find them important and get them signed into law as soon as possible. Collecting of DNA is incredibly important to making sure that children aren't being abused or trafficked. But we saw many times during the Biden administration where the same child would be used by cartels to move individuals into this country illegally. And so one of the policies we put it back in place as soon as President Trump came into the White House is DNA testing of those individuals coming into our country. When we interdicted them, that we would ensure that they were the family that they said that they should be, and that those children weren't being moved with strangers or abused and trafficked by them.
One of the things that has come up regularly when I'm out and about around Tennessee is that we have some of these mayors and governors that have recently demanded millions of dollars in taxpayer reparations for having ICE in their communities. Now, in the case of Minnesota, they're looking at as much as $18 billion in fraud. $18 billion. And what they've uncovered there, what they allowed to happen, whether they want to say they knew about it or they didn't know about it, but it appears they knew about it. and we'll let the investigation bear that out. What do you say to these mayors and governors who are defying the law by having a sanctuary city for illegal immigration, that are allowing rampant fraud of taxpayer money? It is not their money, it is taxpayer money. They allow it to happen, and then they are so brazen and calloused and disrespectful of the taxpayer, they stand up and demand reparations. What do you say to them?
Yeah, it's impossible to take them seriously. The hypocrisy of saying that you care about your economy and you care about your citizens when you've allowed that kind of fraud to go forward that they have in these programs. And these programs are there to care for individuals and give services to some of our most vulnerable in society. Those individuals that have developmental disabilities, individuals who need special services in order to care for them and to help those families for a period of time with individuals and their family members that need to be that specialized care. They have stolen that from them, allowed individuals to abuse those programs, and have done it to the detriment of not just their families there, but also the businesses there and the educational entities and even their credibility to speak. You know, those are the same individuals that called our ICE officers the Gestapo and demonized them, and their rhetoric is very detrimental to the environment that we face every day on their law enforcement operations. So my hope is that we'll continue to get to the bottom of those investigations and bring those criminals to justice.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.